Did the Shy Kids make Dustin change his mind on Sora?
So, as we've been talking for the last couple of weeks, AI, another piece of information on the newest video creation tool, Sora by Open Ai. Another article came up and said that filmmakers have had access to it for a couple of months now, and they've been able to produce some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so I think on Instagram, Shy Kids, which is a kind of small filmmaking group, released Airhead, which is about a unlucky gentleman whose head is a yellow balloon. And the short story, I think it's like a minute, a little bit over a minute long, which kind of goes through the issues that he has with being an airhead. I think there's also some positives to being an airhead too. He kind of gets to float above the earth and
he gets to see all the things below him. Yeah.
From a different perspective.
Yeah.
So really great. You should check that out. We'll link to it in the description below.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to talk about the use of AI, the use of Sora in that, and the difference in maybe the perception of the way that folks are going to use Sora and this, what I would call a more responsible, appropriate way of using Sora.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when Sora was first announced, obviously everyone was worried about, one, is there even any point in being a creator in filmmaking anymore if you could just write in a prompt and then it's going to basically shoot out a Martin Scorsese film for you, right? And then two, the worry was kind of about deep fakes and that type of thing. But if you look at this, if you look at what Shy Kids was able to do, it kind of goes back to what I was saying a couple weeks ago of the responsible use of this. And that is as a replacement for VFX, for those that don't have access to the millions of dollars and the months and months and sometimes years that it takes to create accurate or believable VFX in a film. So we know you're skeptical. You have been a skeptic way more than I am on Sora. What were your thoughts?
The videos are really impressive. They definitely got the point across of like telling a short story in a minute. I think Sora can only do, you give it a text prompt and it can only do a minute worth of video currently. And what they were able to do with that minute is awesome. I've stated before, I like making all the things myself. Whereas Sora would allow me to generate a proof of concept, I guess. But like in the bigger grand scheme of things, like bigger studios would probably create a proof of concept and like send it to VFX artists. That's kind of how I would use it in a way, but it's impressive nonetheless,
Yeah, and I think that we have a difference of kind of viewing doing things yourself, right? Along with, I kind of started all of this, got into this world through audio editing, got into audio editing because of music. When I do my music, when I write and record everything, I try to record all the instruments, all of the parts. I write all the parts. And so I understand that piece of wanting to do everything yourself because there is definitely a lot of value and you feel really accomplished. But the problem with music for me is I can write and record, but after that, I'm kind of really bad at the mixing and mastering part. Really bad. So where I use an outside mixer and master, and even, to some point he edits as well for me. And so I that's kind of the way that I look at Sora. When I use my producer for music, it's not cheap. He deserves all the money that he gets sent. And honestly, it's cheap for what he's doing, I'd say. But it's certainly, it's for me, it's quite a bit of money. VFX is so much more than a music editor. It costs so much more. I mean, you're talking, a whole team of folks working on one thing, whereas Sora can kind of shoot that back out at you really quickly. And as a
Mhm.
small creator, I think that is invaluable. Again, I said I'd pay, maybe $40 a month for this thing, 50,
Mhm.
that somewhere in that range. So the other thing that folks are worried about with Sora is larger organizations, corporations, Warner Brothers studios using this to replace VFX artists.
Yeah.
And that's a byproduct that's going to happen. And it's unfortunate. There's not really a way to stop that from happening. But I think as small creators, there's a responsible way to use it. And Shy Kids really laid it out. Like, I
Yeah.
think some of their shots are even practical and they just use Sora as just the VFX part.
Well, yeah, and you were telling me that they had a behind the scenes like creation of the Airhead video, which I hadn't watched yet. I'm gonna go check it out after this, because I'm definitely interested in that. But you were saying they kind of did some other stuff, right?
Do you mean like just like the practical shots?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, yeah, from what I was seeing, it looked to me like they input their own practical shots into Sora and then use Sora to do some of the VFX. Now, if you watch some of the balloon kind of floating videos, I'm assuming that's all Sora because that's pretty difficult to do.
Hmm.
Even with a drone, it's very stabilized, very smooth shot.
Yeah.
Um, it's possible with the drone gimbal situation, but I'd imagine
Yeah.
that's
The
all
drone's
Sora.
gonna the drone's gonna put off some air and blow the balloon all over the place.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Uh,
even think about that. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like, and then with the wind current, just in general, like, it would not be as smooth as it is.
yeah.
You could probably put stabilization on it, but anyway, like, yeah, I could see that being generated.
So I definitely think that this is the responsible use of Sora.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know if it moves the ball in favor of using Sora for your final creations, like not just for coming up with
Hmm.
an idea. Because let's be honest, man, I'm not a VFX artist and never will be, and you're not a VFX.
I'd love to dip my toes, but I also like want to dip my toes in like every aspect of like the different corridors of filmmaking,
Right.
uh, just to say like, oh, I've done that before, or to have some sort of knowledge on it, to kind of know what I want or what I want to happen. Will I ever do it professionally? Probably not.
Yeah. I do think there's a little bit of a value in focusing in on the things that you're good at and
Hmm.
leaving the rest of it to someone else. I
Yeah.
was actually kind of thinking about this in my private life. It's like I'm pretty good at a lot of things, Like I would
Hmm.
say there are a lot of skills that I have that I am better at than most of the population, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a better audio editor than most of the population because most of the population doesn't edit audio.
Hmm.
I'm a better, cameraman than most of the population
Hmm.
because most of the population doesn't do cameras work. But when you start comparing yourself, like when I start comparing myself to all only audio editors, I'm mid to low at best, right? Same
Yeah.
thing with cameramen. And so I
Yeah.
think that there is value in not stretching yourself out too thin and trying to dip your toes and becoming a, kind of journeyman in this space.
Hmm.
And I think this allows you to focus in on what you're good at,
Hmm.
and that's creating things and coming
Yeah.
up with ideas and scripting. And then you have that peace of mind knowing that you're not going to have to worry about getting your VFX shots the way you want them because it should be able to happen with AI generation. You should be able
Yeah.
to do it without having to like go call, you know,
Yeah.
someone crazy who's going to quote you $5,000 for 2 seconds of
Hmm.
shots.
Yeah. Because I mean, honestly, 2 seconds, that's a lot of time.
It is, yeah,
It's
yeah, for a
so
VFX
long.
shot, yeah,
Yeah. It definitely frees you up to be a lot more creative. But I mean, if you think about any of your like big film production set, right? Everybody has their own job. So think about it in a small creator mindset, whereas you are the guy who does everything, or you have one other person, in this case, um, you can designate that VFX job to Sora, you know, and you can delegate that stuff out to the subsites that we use for music or for the motion graphics, you know, all this other stuff. You're basically working as a 1 to 2 man operation in a larger capacity. You know, I mean, I think we stated it before, like you're collaborating with a lot of these other, you know, creative outlets, creative websites, the tools that you can use, you know. So I mean, yeah, it definitely does free you up creatively.
It frees you up creatively. The other part of it too, kind of the opposite side of that, is that you're going to have somebody get good at Sora as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Chat GPT. I'm not good at Chat GPT. I can't get it to do what I want it to do. And so I think Sora's going to be the same way. In the behind the scenes, the Shy Kids talked about how it was a little bit about like roulette. They weren't really sure when they sent in a prompt what they were going to get back out. And so they had to send a bunch of different prompts in order to get stuff that was usable for this short. And the short was a minute long. And so I don't think it's going to be as easy and it's going to get as good as just, you know, you pop in some stuff and you get back, you know, a great movie back. Again, it's limited to 1 minute. But I do think that you're going to have to get like a Sora guy, or you're going to have to become like a Sora guy. So no, you're not learning VFX, but you're going to have to
learn something.
You're going to have to learn enough about VFX to give it the proper prompt, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the other, I mean, so does it just take like your simple prompt and then give you something? Or can you, like you're saying, train it or dial it in? Like, oh, I want this specific thing done this specific way because I know VFX and I don't have time to do it.
Right.
You know,
I would imagine that the better you get at prompts, the better outcome you're going to get, but also the quicker your interaction with Sora is going to get. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is for GPT, Mid-Journey, like all the stuff. Like the more you give it, the more precise it'll be.
And I think that's my overall point when it comes to AI, other than the scary stuff, right? But my overall point is that AI is a tool, and most tools need humans for proper operation. You can't just throw a bulldozer out on a construction site and expect all the construction to be done.
Bulldozer, bulldoze that. Go.
But I'm sure when the bulldozer came out, there were a bunch of people that use shovels that were upset, you know?
Oh yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Are you gonna be the guy with the shovel, or are you gonna be the guy learning how to use the bulldozer?
I'm gonna be shoveling. I'm just kidding. I'll probably take a crack at the bulldozer once or twice, you know?
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I think that's a good stopping point. I mean, you know, what do you guys think? Are you going to be the shoveler? Or are you going to be the bulldozer? You're going to embrace the AI tools that will be put in front of us, you know, in the soon future, or you're not? You're going to be the shoveler. You're going to shovel things. Or am I going to learn how to talk today?
I will say, we still need people with shovels.
Yes.
And we're still going to need people with shovels. So we're not talking down on people that use shovels, but in this kind of metaphor, we will still need shovelers that actually know how to do VFX and stuff like that. So
yes.
Cool. All righty. Peace.
See ya.
I'm walking the streets of